Hello, sisters. Welcome. So today is what? August the 13th, and this is our 210th episode of Ascension with A Course in Miracles. I'm so excited that you guys are here. Um, Today might be a little emotional for me. I took my little doggie on a walk, and I have this beautiful area that I can walk her. I mean, I'm so blessed to live right next to national forest, basically. I guess that's what it is. It's our land, the American people's land. Anyways, and there's a bike path that they have constructed along the edge of it, and my daughter's neighborhood is on this side of the path. Then there's the path, and then everything else is beautiful land, so we can hike. But it just this morning, it's the same place that I always take my little doggie. This morning I got on the path and I was just feeling this incredible, just this overwhelming love. And I just allowed it to just have its way with me. It's normally what I do now. Before it's like, what is that? I'm feeling something weird. But after so many years of experiencing this feeling, I knew, okay, God, do your thing. Do your thing. Come on in and do your thing. And I was just feeling this incredible spaciousness inside. This knowing things have been shifting for me. I mean, that's what this journey is all about. Every every step on that beautiful spiral, it is shifting us. It's taking us to the next level, the next level. And I had been under the weather a few days ago, and I knew that it was a coinciding with, yes, there's a human cold happening because my little grandson was sick, and then next was my granddaughter. So, just moving around. However, I don't just stay in the human part of it, because to me everything has a divine beginning. So it's like, okay, God, I've got this cold. I know I'm gonna get more sleep. I know I'm gonna drink more fluids. That's just part of what happens in the taking care of the physical vessel. But what upgrade am I getting? What is it that I'm going to be experiencing now that we are in this portal, this um, August 8th portal that we're moving through? And it's still taking us into the September time frame when we've got eclipses and new moons and more things that are coming. And what I was sitting with is, it is just so time to acknowledge that I am the light. God doesn't come to me. There is no, and I know when I teach, I would say, okay, we're calling in, because that's just what we're comfortable with, until we get comfortable with accepting that it comes from us. It doesn't come from anywhere. There is no anywhere. There is no out there. There is only the withinness, and within is the light of God. Within within us is God. It cannot not be anywhere else. From here it extends. The infiniteness of God is we are the opportunity for the extension of that infiniteness. Now, while we are believing God is outside and source is outside and power is outside, of course, we're going to experience it out there. And that's part of the process. This this dropping from consciousness, this fall of humanity, of all beings, because we all have the opportunity to move further and further and further away from what source is. So we come from this infinite place where all is, and then we little by little, our consciousness gets closed and we lower ourselves in frequency and we drop ourselves into a finite identity. So of course, everything that is out there is part of the creation. However, what turns this game upside down, what totally changes is everything, is when we come back into the inside and remember that from here, we then begin to extend it out. So we are one with all that is, and we condense ourselves into a small, tiny mad idea, is what the Course in Miracles calls it. However, the way out of the insanity, the way out of the madness of the idea that I'm separate from God is the process of activating that truth within, aligning with it, accepting it, surrendering to it, and then extending it. Then we begin to be the ones who are creating this reality. So then the outer is a reflection of that which is within. Yes, as we are descending, the outer is a reflection of our consciousness, and it's going to be reflecting primarily that which is in separation. So it's going to be, if we break it down into good and evil or dark and light, whatever word you want to use, love and fear, then what we're seeing out there is going to contain so much of that which is the evil, the dark, or the fear, because it is reflecting our state of separation. But when we begin the process of unifying within, when we begin to heal all of these separate little orphan aspects of ourselves, the 3-year-old that got left in, under the table when mom or dad or somebody was drunk and screaming, or that 4-year-old that witnessed violence in the home, or that 6-year-old orphan aspect of ourselves who was physically abused, sexually abused, emotionally abused, and is still in hiding in her room, or that 8-year-old aspect of ourselves that witnessed the divorce, or that 10-year-old that witnessed the Holocaust, or something that was catastrophic. We have all these orphan aspects of ourselves, and they are fragmented. And as we go through this process of healing and we bring them back in and we call them and give them permission to share what it is that they're holding, because they're holding the trauma that we couldn't process at that time. Number one, we didn't have the maturity. Number two, we didn't have conscious parents who could help us do it in the moment. If we had conscious parents, that we wouldn't carry so much baggage with us. But we didn't have conscious parents back then because we were descending in consciousness. As we are collectively ascending, well, the parents are becoming more and more conscious. And the more conscious the parents are, the more those parents can assist their children in processing things in the moment. And also, not only empowering the children to process things in the moment, but a conscious parent doesn't do things, won't do as many things, and they will lessen that are creating trauma. So those things are taking care of themselves, but it comes from within. The healing is something that happens within. Therefore, the wholeness is something that happens within. We bring all of these orphan aspects of ourselves, all of these wounded aspects of ourselves, we bring them all together, and we recognize that there is one mature being who is the one who is waking up to realize, I got to do all this inner healing inside. And that cannot begin until we stop blaming the outside. I'm this way because of that one, or that one hurt me. Or once you stop the blame game, you enter a whole different game. It's a game of wholeness, of healing. It's a game of bringing in everything into a cohesive oneness. Well, who's doing that? It's the one that's awakening. It's the one that's realizing, oh my gosh, I got to do this. The one that begins to feel the recognition of the peace, of the joy, of the alignment, the connection to source, the one that has gone to all the workshops and read all the books, that one that has been on this quest trying to find healing, and bringing into wholeness, is the one that goes inside and retrieves all of these orphaned aspects of ourselves. And I've never really called it that, but it's coming out, so we'll go with it. But all of these fragmented aspects of ourselves, every one of them, there is two parts to every one of those experiences of healing. One is the wounded child, the one who experienced the situation and in her immature or his immature perspective could only call it one thing. The brain wasn't fully developed, the body wasn't fully developed. There was trauma, emotional, physical, mental, all those things have to be looked at. That one is holding onto that frequency, that low frequency that it dropped down into. On the other side of that is your Christ itself, is the innocent child that then boom lost its innocence, the innocent child that was joyful and happy and was itself until boom it couldn't be itself. So we've got these two aspects. This is what happens. We split, the psyche splits. Now, from a human perspective, the egoic aspect of us goes into a form of protection. All of that is necessary. It's important. It's part of navigating this 3D world without totally losing it. And in some cases, yeah, you may lose it, but that inability to remember things is a self-protective mechanism. So we have to go in there and address that. We have to recognize that that happened. But the Course in Miracles doesn't want us to stop there. The Course in Miracles invites us to cultivate a relationship with the one that couldn't be the authentic innocent self anymore. Because that is your Christed self that can't come out because this one goes into lockdown. This one says, okay, I'm going to protect myself. I'll stay quiet. I'll lose my voice or I'll scream. That's the only way that I can get attention. So that one that creates all of the rules by which you live by today, what to wear, what to do, who to be with, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. That one is the one that keeps you in survival because your soul has no rules. None. There are no rules because when you are one with all that is, what rules do you need? What do you have to wear? What do you have to say? What do you have to be? Who do you have to talk to be doing it right? That one is totally free. This is why we have to become like little children for two reasons: to address the wounding, because once you deal with the wound, this is nothing but a memory. It is a memory that it is held there for a reason so you can have a 3D experience. If you are ascending, if you know that you are moving beyond this 3D experience, you can't take that bag of weights with you. It doesn't go. It stays. But it stays because you drop it. And you drop it because there's a you that is waking up, that is deciding, I'm complete with the 3D game. I don't need to carry trauma. I don't need to have trauma anymore. And there is an end to the trauma, but you are the one who has to decide, I'm done. And the only way you decide that you're done is when you acknowledge that there's a part of you that doesn't have any of that. That's why the Course in Miracles teaches that forgiveness is the recognition of that which never happened to your authentic self. It doesn't say it didn't happen to your human self, because the Course is filled with exercises to address your human self, to feel it, to call it, to name it, to recognize it. But then the work of the Course in Miracles, because it's two parts. One part is to look at the ego, to understand the ego, to recognize the ego. What does it do? It's trickery. And the other part of the Course in Miracles is to accept yourself as God created you. Those are two separate things. And for too long, too many spiritual people are walking with one foot in both worlds. And that's okay if that's what you want, because that just shows you're not ready to just own the essence of who you are as God created you, which is powerful. Absolutely powerful. There are no rules there. There are no limitations. There are no constraints. There is nothing that tells you who you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to have. That is not there. But that's scary. It's scary to be that free Because when you were that free as a 2-year old, 3-year, 4-year old, boom, something happened. So we still carry that memory of trauma. If I'm myself, I get in trouble. If I'm myself, when I was being myself and singing, well, that's when dad would get mad because he was drunk and he didn't want to hear little kids having fun. He's in his head with all his pain and his suffering and his angst and his worry. He doesn't want to hear joy. So what happens is they shut down the joy of the little ones in the home. So you have cellular memory that being yourself is what got you in trouble. So we learn to not be ourselves. And again, anything where there are rules and regulations, you've got to look at that. Do you have to look a certain way? Do you have to behave a certain way? All of those things are from that wounded child that learned how to manage her or his environment, went into control mode, and in control mode, excuse me, would not let you be you, wouldn't let your essence come out, maybe a little bit here and there. But it wasn't safe to be you. So we have to do all of this emotional work. This is psychological, basic psychology right here. You've got to understand your psyche. Once you do that work and you can taste both sides, you can feel what it feels to be free and you can feel what it feels to be bound, and you can feel your tightness, you can feel your tension coming in, then the one who is waking up now has a choice. And that one who is waking up is the one who's maturing, who's ready to run the show. But that one cannot take over until it tells the one that is wounded, that is afraid, that is judging and scared and manipulating and conflicted and in anxiety, that this one is stepping up, that this one is now committed, ready to accept that I am as God created me. That is where courage comes in. You have come to the place that you have done the work of realizing that it costs you too much to not be you anymore. That the protection served you and it got you what it got you, and it got you the relationships that it got you. I mean, we all have a long list of the relationships when we were in our egoic self. When we were deep into our story, we've got the marriages that ended. We've got the relationships maybe with our children that was affected, with our siblings, with our parents, with our neighbors, with our jobs. We have a long list of those old relationships because we were operating from that lower frequency, meaning we were in protection mode. To move into courage, you begin to realize that this is a journey of self-love. The only way that you can bring that Christ itself out is to love yourself enough to decide you don't want to keep suffering, to love yourself enough into freedom, to decide that playing it safe is not freedom. Safety and freedom are totally opposites. Freedom comes from knowing you are as God created you. You're not here to get anybody to approve of you. You are not here to get the government to take care of you. You are not here to, to have a knight in shining armor or the perfect wife, whatever. You're not here to find a mate to take care of you. When you're in perfect freedom, you know that you are cultivating a relationship with who you are, reconnecting with your innocence, with your magnificence, with your joy, with your playfulness, and your commitment is to want to know, what is that? How does that feel? How does that act? And you give yourself permission to start breaking boundaries. You give yourself permission to do things differently. Where you always did these things, then you start doing these things. Well, I only eat this and I only wear that. Go wear something else. Put on something you've never worn before. You will feel the discomfort in your body if you are still attached to rules. But when you begin to move beyond the rules, move beyond the boundaries, you begin to move out of, hey, sweetie, you begin to move out of those constraints that are too small. way too small for the magnificent infinite you that you are. So you begin to feel that power inside. You make little choices. You let go of little things, and eventually you get comfortable letting go of bigger stuff. You stop participating in certain systems. You get comfortable with that. Maybe after feeling the angst, because every single time you're scared about something is because you've come upon an edge of your ego. Your ego doesn't want you to go beyond the fear. Your ego wants you to stay behind the fear. Let the fear protect me. Oh, the fear stops me from doing this, that, or the other. Well, if that's what you believe is what keeps you safe, then you have to do that. You cannot not do that. If there's a you waking up, if there's that aspect of yourself that is saying, I my freedom is worth whatever discomfort I need to experience right now. And that is what the Course in Miracles is inviting us to understand, is the process of purification. Purification is moving through your fear and recognizing, I'm scared. This feels really uncomfortable. You want to end a relationship. You want to get rid of something that you've been holding on to, and it feels, you're anxious. You might be sweaty. You might be, hot. You might be nervous. You might just be jittery because it's scary. And the ego produces the chemicals in our bodies that makes us feel so uncomfortable. And we've been used to that discomfort. And then we go numb it, and we take pills, and we drink whatever, and we take drugs, and we sex, and we do all those things so that we don't feel that discomfort, or so we can deal with it. But purification calls for you to move through the fire of purification. The fire is, you feel the discomfort. You don't numb it. You don't drug it. You sit with it and you call it what it is. I am terrified. I am terrified to do this. I am scared. What could go wrong? What could go, what if I'm mistaken? One of the ego's favorite stories is to tell us, what if I'm wrong about this? What if all this spiritual stuff is not true? Anything to keep you in its grip. Now, we are in the midst of the bifurcation, meaning we have to make a choice. We are not going to be able to walk with one foot in both worlds for very long, because that is spreading out further and further apart. The frequencies are so different that you can't keep 2 feet and stretch out 2 feet, before you know it. You can only go so far. At some point, you're going to have to pull a foot one way or the other to balance yourself. And a lot of people are going to pull their foot back into the ego world, and they're going to go into the fear, and that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that, because you're an eternal being. And if you don't move out of 3D in this lifetime, or the next one, or the next one, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because you're still as God created you, but your mind is still preferring to operate in safety. This is why Course in Miracles is a course in mind training. It's training your mind to move into freedom. If you're not prepared to move into freedom, it is going to be psychologically painful for you to attempt to do things, to let go of the things that don't serve you. And that's not loving. It is not loving to hurt yourself if you're not ready for that. We just went in class, some of you guys were in class last night, and we talked about there's a readiness. There's a readiness that has to happen. And that readiness is a sign of maturity. It's a sign that there is one within you who is moving beyond the limitations of the wounded one. And when you are prepared to do whatever it takes to move into freedom, that is a sign of readiness. And that is what is going to help you really see, because by then you've done the inner work. Now the inner work is not necessary because it's done. Now the work, because we can call it work if you want to call it that, the work is to be in this world but not of it. How do you show up as one who knows who you are and knows who everybody else is? That's a whole different preparation. That's a whole different process, because you're not going inside to heal the wound itself. You are bringing that inner child. You're bringing that Christ itself out into the world. You're embodying it. You're walking about knowing that you are the light of the world. You don't need permission from anybody else. You already know it. And you begin to listen to the guidance within that helps you see the new systems, the new things that are being done, the people who are operating at that frequency who are now the ones who are creating the holistic medical systems, the new education systems, the new financial systems, the new whatever systems. You begin to gravitate, how can I be part of that community? And you create, like we are doing, a community where you feel safe talking. Yeah, I am magnificent. And it's not a talk about what was wrong, it's a talk about what is right with us. So this morning, as I was on that walk and I'm feeling this incredible energy just moving through me, it was like, okay, I have to take my own game to another level. And for me, that shows up not so much in how I'm showing up in the world, but really how I'm serving in the world. I'm feeling it. I've got all these new things that want to be expressed through me. So there's big changes that are going to happen in my own personal life. When I say big changes, it won't look too big on the outside because I'm not moving from where I am, but I have little by little been unplugging from the old systems. I don't participate in the medical insurance system. I don't participate in the taxation. I little by little been moving away from the old money systems. I don't invest in the old stuff anymore. I'm totally in the new quantum system. I am little by little, I only, if I need some assistance with my well-being, then I practice holistically. I do those things. So as we get more comfortable with this new world and we're walking and that is our new normal, and we recognize government is not my protector, president is not my savior, or the one who's going to condemn me to anything that I don't want to be a part of. So I'm clear that I am under no laws but God's. Now it's just a matter of case, how can I serve more? So speaking of serving, on August the 28th, I'm going to start a new series called The Manual for Teachers. It's right out of Course in Miracles with the characteristics of a teacher of God so that we can begin to have an opportunity to practice that. If you're watching this and you're not part of my academy yet, please join. This is free. It's going to be for anybody who joins in the free path called the Curiosity Path, because I want anybody who wants this to have this. This is important. When you have those 10 characteristics, now you have a model, you have an idea what you're moving towards. And if you don't have that clarity of what that mature you, how that one lives, then your immature self is going to trick you into all kinds of ways to not really let go of your wounded self. And you're going to live inside of that bubble of safety. If you want to be free, you need to understand how to embody that freedom. And that's what the Manual for Teachers is all about. So again, that's going to be on August the 28th, and I'll put all kinds of links so people can join the Curiosity Path in the Awareness Academy so you can have access to this. And if you know somebody that might be interested, by all means, send them a link, and everybody is invited, because, my purpose is to help awaken humanity to the magnificence within, is to help those who are ready and willing and wanting to have access to that which sets us free. But I can't make anybody, back in my younger years, I wanted people to get this and I wanted to hit them over the head with it. And you gotta get this, to wake up. Now, only if you're interested, because I have come to respect that there are people who don't want that. There are many people on the spiritual path with one foot in on both sides who are not, they don't want freedom more than they want safety. And that is okay. I have to respect that, because that is what love does. You respect everybody where they're at. I don't need to wake up anybody. Only those who are interested, I want to offer a way, a path. That's it. So let's get into the Course in Miracles. This is chapter 23 still. And in chapter 23, we're in the very last section, which is above the battleground. The battleground, you got one foot on both worlds. You got to be able to see that and make a choice. This is for those who are so ready to move beyond the egoic shenanigans. So above the battleground has been taking us through the steps that we need to go through to understand that if you're attacking, if you're judging, if you're blaming, if you're in fear, that is all being in the battleground. That happens down here. Above the battleground is to train your mind to begin to look at things with God, to be neutral enough that you can observe, oh, wow, I've got a wounded child and I've got one that really wants to go out and play and be free. You're observing what's happening inside, because the battle is always between what God desires for us and what we are attempting to do for ourselves in spite of what God desires for us. So, it's insane. It's crazy. That which wants to give us freedom, we are more determined to, oh no, let me play it small and safe. And wait, if you're in fear, that's what you're doing. And you don't even know it. You think fear is keeping you safe. Well, it is. But when you understand that safety is a prison, then all of this begins to make more sense. But your mind has to be trained to look at things differently, because you can't see it from, above the battleground if you're down here in survival mode. It's just impossible. So, Course in Miracles is training our mind to move up there. And it's just letting us know that murder and love are incompatible. Love means that you recognize who you are. Murder is that you're willing to lie to yourself, that you're willing to, you know, metaphorically kill yourself with imprisonment and shutting yourself down and kill others by your beliefs about them, your ideas about them, to murder their character, murder your character. All of that is possible because you don't understand what love is, and love is freedom. Love says, God says, if that's what you want to do, that's okay, because I know you're in my mind. God speaking, I know you're in my creation, and you cannot not be there if I want you there. So our souls are all totally free inside of God's mind, but our psyche has been atrophied to play the human game. So we're working through undoing our psychological wounding so that we can free ourselves of this prison that we have put ourselves in. And then in paragraph 4, it tells us that the lovely light of your relationship is like the love of God. We have a relationship with with God that is so lovely, that is so beautiful, that we cannot experience if we are not committed to making that a priority, so that we can work our way out of the safety, the prison that our ego has placed us in. So there are lots of things that we have discussed that help us really begin to answer the call to freedom. So last week we did paragraph number 6, and just letting us know that every single time that there's a stab of pain or a twinge of guilt, and above all, a loss of peace, well, that's when we know that we are listening to the ego. Any little bit of pain, any little bit of guilt, any little bit of shame is an indicator. It's like a bell going off saying, "Oh, you're in the ego side." Every discomfort, ding, 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 you're on the ego side. And that's the opportunity for one who is awakening to say, "Oh, let me shift. Let me shift and lift in frequency." But if you don't understand that, when you hear that, oh, guilt, shame, then you're going to retreat or you go into attack, because that's all that the ego can do, retreat or attack. But when you listen to that discomfort and you go, oh, whoa, wait a second, I get to look at this through the eyes of God. God, what would you have me do? What is really going on here? Then your mind has to have been matured enough, clear enough to pick a different way of doing things. So let's go into paragraph 7. See no one from the battleground, for there you look on him from nowhere. This is when your mind has been trained to look at everything from neutrality, then you cannot come down to the battleground. In neutrality, you recognize the battleground. You recognize people who are choosing to operate as victims and bullies. You can see it. You don't need to attack them because you're no longer having murderous thoughts, but you can love them and go, okay, that's what that soul wants to experience. Now, if it's a child, if it's an elderly person, then you want to be in service because they may not be in a position where they can. Some elderly person that walking the streets having a hard time, you can look at it from above the battleground and go, well, if the car hits them, that may be their exit point. But then there's a part inside of you that says, well, let me be in service. And you reach out. Can I help you cross the street? Do that. We do that all the time on inside of the 3D world because our soul knows to do things that are in service to others automatically. You see a child getting abused, getting hurt from above the battleground, you can recognize, okay, that soul has chosen that experience. But they don't have the psychological intelligence, the maturity to, in that moment, make a different choice. So, how can I be of service? Why? Because you realize that we're all one. You realize that if there's something that is happening that is unloving, it's because it's happening in low frequency. This is where conscious parenting kicks in. This is where being a conscious being kicks in, where we say, hey, let's make sure that this abuser is not taking the freedom of this one. And if that child grows up and decides, they're going to keep having relationships that are abusive, that's okay. But while you're a child, when you have the ability to be in service, you be in service. So above the battleground doesn't mean that we just let the 3D world, oh, well, whatever. It means that we move into a place where we're in alignment with Source, and Source can guide us into what is appropriate for us to do to help that person, elderly person across the street, to help that child into a different situation. We will be guided, but there will be no judging, there'll be no guilting, there'll be no shaming anybody because love cannot do that. Love does not do that. It doesn't have the ability to do that at that highest of frequencies because you're respecting everybody as a powerful creator, but you are acknowledging that we're in the world. And in the world, when you are 3 years old, you don't have the cognitive ability of a 25-year-old, or when you're 80 years old and you're losing, some of your functions and you can't maybe walk, or you're 100 or 120 and you can't walk, you help that person because we are in the world. We're just no longer of it, participating in the victim and bully game. We're participating in the reminding everybody that they are the light of the world. And that elderly person deserves a loving arm to help them across the street. That little innocent child deserves a loving person who says, hey, I know that you deserve to have a joyful life. So in sentence number 1, see no one from the battleground, for there you look on him from nowhere. You have no reference point from where to look, where meaning can be given what you see. For only bodies could attack and murder. And if this is your purpose, then you must be one of them. So if you're believing that the bodies are here to attack and to murder, then you're in that frequency. So that means that your consciousness is not wanting to rise. Nothing wrong with that. That's just the stage of the cosmic evolution that you're on. Nothing wrong with that. If you are doing the work and you are waking up and you are realizing that love would not hurt anybody, then it is up to you to put yourself in a position to listen to the guidance that allows you to do what is loving, period. What is loving? And there'll be no judgment with it. That is why we have to understand bodies. You have to understand the function of the body. The body is a way for the ego to hide behind something. Oh, this is who I am. But when you recognize that the body itself is neutral, then where do you go? You go to the mind, you go to the thinking, you go to the thoughts and the ideas that send us into this game of attacking and murder. And you don't want to play that game, but you're bringing light into this world because we must shine our light so we can see everything that has been unloving. And where there is somebody who is ready to move through their fears, then they have someone who can show them the way. Jesus did that for us. Jesus came in, he was crucified, he participated in the human game. He did not attack the people who were crucifying him. He let them put him on the cross, and he was just showing, okay, I'm not a body, people. You don't get a better example than that. So if you feel inspired to go into a war-torn area and say, I am here to serve in whatever way you're inspired to serve. And if I'm going to get shot, that may be part of it. I was just reading something from some journalists who are in Gaza, and they knew they were risking their lives, and they left letters. If something happens to me, I want you to know that I did what I felt I needed to do. I had to be here. I could not be here, even if it meant risking my life, because the mission was way bigger than my own life. And when you feel that alignment to source, you're going to know if it is for you to do things that require that level of physical courage. But the mental courage is necessary to move past the thinking of the ego. Then it tells us in sentence number 4, only a purpose unifies, and those who share a purpose have a mind as one. So the ego has its purpose, attacking and protecting and stealing and fear and anger, and it's greedy, all about me. If you do anything that's just because of you, that's ego. Then there's a purpose of the mind of God, and that is it's all for the greater good. So the body cannot have precedence. If you have to do something that's for the greater good, you're willing, do whatever you want to do to this body. I am going to, protect this child, or I'm going to be a journalist in a war-torn area where maybe getting killed may be part of it, or I'll come in and in the times of Jesus and be crucified. You will know the level of courage that is called of you. And most people don't have to have that level of physical courage, but you have to have the emotional, mental courage to feel the discomfort and let it burn, let it dissipate, let it dissolve, so that on the other side you go, oh my God, I was so scared to do this thing. And then I did that thing and I was shaking while I did it. But then all of a sudden, wow, I feel so much freer because I quit that job. I feel so much freer because I let go of this thing. I feel so much freer because I got out of that relationship. I feel so much freer because I spoke my mind. I said what I needed to say, even though I was shaking while I said it. On the other side of doing the thing that the ego doesn't want you to do is your freedom. And that courage is so important. The physical courage then to be in a place where you realize, give me liberty or give me death, that's a whole different level. And not everybody is being called to have to do that. But you will know if it's for you, because the body has no purpose of itself and must be solitary. That's why all of our bodies are individual. Our bodies, without a mind thinking, those bodies are not going to attack anybody. I mean, you can go look at any body in the funeral home. There's no thinking. Those bodies are not jumping up and smacking people in the face. They're not attacking anybody. So bodies on their own don't do anything. Everything comes from the mind. The thoughts that we have are what tell us our purpose. If you're with the ego, your purpose is selfishness. So anything that has to do with greed, it's all about me. That is what the ego will do. When your mind is united with the purpose of God, everything is for the greater good. There's nothing that you would keep for yourself, because as the Course tells us, that you prefer to give because in giving, you receive. But when you hold on to something and deprive somebody of it, in the withholding it, you will suffer. That's just the laws of creation. So then it goes on to say in 6, from below, we're looking on the bottom battleground. From below, it cannot be surmounted. From above the battleground, the limits it exerts on those in battle still are gone and not perceived. The body stands between the Father and the heaven he created for his Son, because it has no purpose. Here is God. Here's the high frequency of love. Here's the battleground. Here's the realm of the ego. And the body basically just stands here on its own. You can use it down here, or you can transcend it and move up here. What is it that moves? Your soul. Your soul gets encapsulated in a body when the mind has this idea to have a human experience, and you choose to separate from God and you come into the third dimension. And then in this third dimension, we play out these games in density, in duality, perfectly, that it makes perfect sense. But for you to transcend and to move into heaven, into that higher consciousness, we used to have to die to the physical self, then we were released, and then we could have that experience. Not so anymore. Jesus showed us that we don't have to do that, and we're hard-headed. It's taken us 2,000 years to finally get this. But today, there's millions upon millions who are shedding the limitations of the mind and utilizing the body that has no purpose in a neutral way to extend only love. That's kind of what I was experiencing on my walk today, was that this body vessel is here just to extend love. I mean, I just don't really have mean thoughts. I don't have selfish thoughts or greedy thoughts. Those things just don't really enter my mind hardly ever. And when they do, I can see them. I recognize them. And I just ignore them because I don't need to spend time analyzing what I know I can just transcend. I can shift, and that's not my reality anymore. And what happens is we're going to have all of these human bodies that have chosen liberation, freedom, just shining light, just extending love right there in their whatever profession they chose, as a school teacher, as a doctor, as a carpet cleaner, as a stay-at-home mom, as a CEO of a company, as the head of a country, shining light, extending, how may I serve the greater good? We're seeing that all over the place. Those people were being shut down before, called, conspiracy theorists or crazy or whatever. Now we see them and we hear them because their voices are not being silenced. Why? Because there has been a shift. There has been a shift towards more light on the planet, meaning more people are inspired to choose freedom over safety. And a lot of people are willing to walk away from the things that kept them safe because they have found that courage within them. They know that they have to do this. They do not want safety, because safety is really no different than a prison. Now, we can call it a pretty prison. That's okay. You can put lipstick on a pig, it's still pig. The level of freedom that is possible is where your mind is no longer under the control of your ego. Your mind is now in alignment with what God would have you do. And all of it is beautiful. Every bit of it. Communicating, collaborating, cooperating, serving, assisting, bringing in new ideas, making the world a better place, cleaning up the planet. That is all that can happen through one whose mind is free. Playing small, protecting and stealing and cheating and killing and hurting. That's what happens with the minds of that are run by the ego. And we're seeing the different, I mean, we can see it. It's becoming so evident, especially if you're looking in politics or you're looking in medicine or you're looking in the education system. You can see the open minds in service to the greater good and the minds that are closed and greedy and in service to themselves. It's so evident. You can just listen to what they're saying. Who's tearing people down? Who's lifting people up? Who's saying, I trust God? Who's saying, this is what the book says. This is what the system says. This is what my degree says. You can hear the different levels of frequency. Why? Because you have moved above the battleground and you can hear it and you can see it. So the body stands between the Father and heaven, and the heaven he created for his son, because it has no purpose. Your body has zero purpose until you infuse it with a purpose that you want to experience. You have to decide, what are you going to use your body for? That we all have to come to this place. Are we going to use this body to extend the love of Christ? And we got to move out of our fears to speak the truth, to call things what they are, not with judgment, but with discernment that elevates all of humanity. Let's go into paragraph number 8. Think what is given those who share their Father's purpose and who know that it is theirs. When you know that your Father's purpose is yours, that you have no other uh, God before you than God, the God that you're coming to discover through A Course in Miracles, what happens? They want for nothing. You don't need to be worried about anything. Sorrow of any kind is inconceivable. Only the light they love is in awareness, and only love shines upon them forever. How perfect that I had that experience about that light coming from me. And this is what we're talking about today. When you make that commitment to be in alignment with God, there is no worry. Once your mind has been purified of all those old ideas of lack and limitation, now you begin to accept, wait a second, I am the prodigal child. I deserve the party. I deserve access to everything, but you can't have access to everything if you're still being greedy and selfish and using it for murderous things, to hurt, to deceive, to make yourself look prettier, or to get a boob job or whatever, or to, puff your lips or whatever it might be, because those are things of the body to make your ego look good. But when you're in alignment with God, if you're going to get a boob job or you're going to get your lips filled, you're doing it because you want to. It's fun. It's just fun. There's nothing selfish about it. So it's not about what you will do or won't do. It's about the mindset, the purpose behind everything. There will be no sorrow. It will be inconceivable to feel pain, to feel bad. That was one of the things that was very shocking to me, that as I began to move down this path and I began to hear of people getting terminal, diagnoses, or maybe I even went to some funerals where I sat there and I was not in sorrow. I wasn't feeling even sadness because I was in awe of the being. I was just like in awe of this soul that chose to incarnate, and I was so filled with gratitude for their presence as a holy, powerful child of God, that there was no room for low frequency feelings. Now, it doesn't mean that when you become one with God that you have no feeling. Oh, excuse me. Jesus was so compassionate, but he operated from a level of empathy that is spoken about in the course that we'll definitely have to spend some time on that particular section. But empathy means I recognize the human side, but I know the holy side too. So you don't feel bad that people are having human things. You feel clear that they can handle whatever is there because you know that they have a divine and holy connection. So you can't look down on anybody because you're looking at them from above, just as we were reading. Sentence number 5 says, it is their, and again, this is one who shares the Father's purpose. It is their past, their present, and their future, always the same, eternally complete and wholly shared. Their past, their present, and their future is simply that they are the love, that they're the awareness of that love, and only love shines through them. That's it. So your past, your old stories are gone. You realize, okay, I had my human journey. That's not who I am. The future, you're not worried about what next level you're going to go to, what next thing is going to happen. Am I going to win the lottery? Am I going to get the promotion? You don't think that way because you trust that you are entitled to miracles. You know the truth of who you are, and you're expecting the good to come to you because you are the child of God. So your mind has to be trained into the expectation of all that is good, not from a selfish place, but because you know that all of God's children are taken care of. We are all the prodigal child. You own it, you accept it, you expect it. It's absolutely amazing what happens to your mindset when you are completely unbound by egoic low frequency thinking. They know it is impossible their happiness could ever suffer change of any kind. When you know that you are created by God, nothing in this world is going to affect your happiness because your happiness is a joy that is unbounded, like a little child. So many of us, every one of us who falls into the low frequency of the ego, loses touch with that unbounded joy, those giggles for no reason, that ability to be in awe of the slightest little thing, to find it funny to see the little bird, you know, fluttering or doing whatever they're doing. I watch my little grandbabies. I'm telling you, I came here to sit at the feet of my most advanced gurus that I've ever studied under. And they giggle for no reason. And when one is feeling hurt, the other one, my 18-month-old little granddaughter, goes and hugs her little brother when he stubs his toe or does something. She'll go and hug him. Nobody taught her that. It's instinctive. That is why we need to awaken, is to preserve the magnificence of these children, to not, I'm going to use the word dumb them down, but to not bring them down in frequency, but rather to remind them that that frequency is their minimal set point, and from there to expand. So it is absolutely impossible that your happiness will suffer. The world teaches us that our happiness is when we get something. Our happiness is when we get promoted, when we get a raise, when we get a diamond ring, when we get this house, when we get the presents, when we get, Halloween, or not Halloween, but for Christmas, when we get the flowers for Valentine. That's when we get to be happy. All of that is going away for one who understands that your happiness comes from within, because you know who you are. You don't need somebody to tell you, oh, you're a great mom and here's some flowers for you to be happy. You know that if you're a mom and you're living from a place of total authenticity, or you're an aunt or you're a brother or a father, and you're doing it from a total, complete, authentic place, you recognize that is what makes you happy, because you're living as God created you. You don't need a card. You don't need something from the outside. Perhaps you think the battleground can offer something you can win. Can it be anything that offers you a perfect calmness and a sense of love so deep and quiet that no touch of doubt can ever mar your certainty, and that will last forever? Until you feel that perfect calmness, that sense of love that does not go away because somebody cuts you off in traffic. It doesn't go away because somebody didn't invite you to a party or somebody didn't return your call, or it doesn't go away because you know that you are as God created you. You accept it and you just be it no matter what. That will not be affected by anything that happens in this world. So if you want to have a simple test about where are you? Where are you planted? Are you planted in the 3D world, or are you planted more in the 5D world? Look to the things that irritate you on a regular basis. Anything that disturbs your peace, you're in 3D. You're grounded and peaceful no matter what happens, no matter what's on the news. And listen, folks, we are moving faster and faster towards the bringing out of so many things that have been so dark in this world, not because they're happening for the first time, but because they've been happening for thousands of years. The world has been run by minds who have been greedy, who have been corrupt, who have been so completely selfish and uncaring about who gets hurt, what waters get polluted as long as they can make a profit, what air gets polluted, what child gets hurt as long as they can make a profit. That has been happening for thousands of years. It is up to us to make a decision to not live with that as our what determines what it is that we are going to be doing in this world. We need to get really clear that when the ego runs things, it runs it from a selfish, greedy place. And when you rise to positions of power and you are selfish, well, you will do the unthinkable. And that's just the way that it is. When you are aligned with God and you rise to positions of power, you will do things that are for the greater good and in service to all. And people may not see that, may not understand that yet, but everything that you do, sure, you'll benefit from it. Of course you will, because you're entitled to receiving everything that you give. Giving and receiving are one. So when you're in service to humanity, you will be blessed. Of course you will. But you've got to get really clear that what is coming is like the final test, is the opportunity for you to see, are you going to retreat into safety, or are you going to sit inside of the discomfort, acknowledge that you have been participating in a very low frequency world and you are pulling your energy from it by not judging it, number one. Number two, by forgiving it. By forgiving it and blessing it and saying, it served me, I had that experience, I don't need to go back there again. This course is preparing you to do that, but it can't do it for you. Let's just jump into paragraph number 9 because that completes this section. Those with the strength of God in their awareness could never think of a battle. What could they gain but loss of their perfection? I mean, that's it. If you're going to enter into battle, you're going to lose the memory of your perfection. You're going to lose the memory of the goodness that is in you, because it's going to get blocked by the need to be right, the need to be safe, the need to be protected. Sentence 3, for everything fought for on the battleground is of the body, something it seems to offer or to own. Yeah, every time we're defending ourselves, we're going to court to protect ourselves, we're writing a letter to the IRS to justify, all of it is because I'm having to protect what I own, or what can I give to get something better? It's a trade-off, because the body has been trained into having stuff looking a certain way, not realizing that it is neutral. So we got to go to the mind. What are all these thoughts that I have? Because your body will be used for a whole different purpose when you're not thinking in greed, in selfishness, in fear, in worry, in anxiety. Sentence 4, no one who knows that he has everything could seek for limitation, nor could he value the body's offerings. This is a tough lesson to learn, to train your mind into knowing that you have everything that you need and you will have it when you need it. To be in that place of peace, we are so trained to look at the checkbook, and that's where our safety comes from. And when we get off balance because of how many zeros are in our checkbook, then we are beholden to the stuff of the world. We are a puppet to the system, the old system. But there's a new system. There's a transitional system. Until we don't need to have money, we're going to have a different system. The quantum financial system. You better learn about crypto. Everything is shifting. If you're not listening to what's happening financially, if you're not paying attention to all of the new laws that are going into place, what's happening with the Federal Reserve, what's happening with the IRS, if you don't understand what's happening there, then you're not preparing yourself for the interim system that is going to make things a lot more equal, more transparent. And yes, we are going to be shifting. And yes, pretty soon it's going to be evident for everybody to be a part of this. That's just the way it's going to be. You think you don't need to know about crypto? Well, it won't be very long. I would say probably by next year, you're going to have to pay with crypto. And yes, your bank is going to help you convert your dollars into crypto, because everything is going to move that way. Just like before, we had cash only, and then we had checkbooks, and then we had debit cards. When debit cards first came out, I actually used to work at a bank when that happened. People were like, "What? This plastic has money?" Well, no, the plastic just tells your bank to send the money. So it's a form of communication. That's all crypto is. It's a form of communication that says, send my assets from here to there. So where we moved from rocks being the form of trading, or this rock is worth so much back in the olden days, to dollar bills, to debit cards, to plastic. Now it's going to be all electronic. You need to understand that. And again, you don't need to go out there and educate yourself on this like you're missing out. It's coming to you no matter what. But if you want to be ahead of the game, then you learn it. But it's coming. Just as all of the medical systems will be holistic, that's coming. You don't need to go educate yourself on med beds. They're coming. Because soon when you go to the doctor and you're feeling inspired to go to something of a higher frequency, you're not going to walk into a place with pills and shots and cut you up and cut you open. You're going to be going to a place that is going to offer you healing through sound, through light. That's coming. It's not even coming, it's there. But are you vibrating so that that's in your experience right now is the only thing that is going to change. Raise your frequency, that's what you're going to find. Keep your frequency lower, then you're going to continue to find the same old ways of doing things. And then you'll be shocked when you discover, oh, they've changed a couple of things. But it's okay. Why? Because no one who knows that he has everything could seek for limitation. When you raise your frequency and you know the truth of who you are, you're expecting your good because you know you're entitled to it. But it's not an entitlement like you know, a selfish teenager. Well, my daddy's rich, so I'm entitled to a new car. Not that kind of entitlement. Although that's, perfectly okay. It's an entitlement that your needs are met because we're moving to a time when there's no need to be hoard. We're not going to be saving for a rainy day. We're not going to be building bank accounts. That's not going to be necessary at all because you will have what you need when you need it because we're going to take care of one another. Because nobody's going to need to hoard it over here for my retirement when we're all moving healthy and totally vibrant until the very last breath. So those days of taking care of me and self, that's going away for the love of the greater good of all. It's just so amazing. I'm so excited. That's just my reality. The senselessness of conquest is quite apparent from the quiet sphere above the battleground. The senselessness of conquest. Look back on the history of this planet. How many battles, how many conquerors have we had who decided, I want your land, I want your wife, I want your child, I want your this, because the senselessness of that conquest gave gave us the ability to experience what 3D is, so that now with the contrast we go, I don't want that anymore. I don't want to have to take a sword and cut somebody's head so that I can have money in my bank account. I don't want to do it that way. But that's the way it was done before. Now things are changing. The senselessness of conquering, of taking, is quite apparent from above the battleground, where you can see people still lying and cheating and doing things that are so unloving. What can conflict with everything? If you know you have access to everything, you're not going to be wanting for anything. And what is there that offers less, yet could be wanted more? How could you want anything from this 3D world when you know you have access to a whole new world that is being created first and foremost, with the awareness that we are one, with the awareness that we are brothers and sisters, that we are all children of the same creator. From that place, who's going to try and cheat who? It's just not conceivable. Who's going to want to conquer who? It's not conceivable. But we need to understand that in the third dimensional way of thinking, we have been conditioned to believe that there are those who are better and lesser, those who are worth more than others. And we have bought into the caste systems and the hierarchy systems. That is coming to an end for those who are shifting. And for those who want to remain in the 3D world, who are not yet ready to stop playing in the game of safety, they're going to see that everything is shifting further to the edges, because those who think that they're in control do not want a middle group. They want a very low group and a very high group. They want the polarity to be very drastic. And if you want to stay in that side, if you want to play it safe, then you're going to play it safe with somebody who you're going to want protecting you that is not at all interested in you. All they want is your money. All they want is power over you. And if you give it to them, they will be happy to show you how powerless you are. All the while, it's your power that you're giving because you're so powerful that you can give away your power and pretend that you're powerless. That's how powerful we are. But you move into the place of oneness, into trusting and recognizing that we're all going to take care of each other is because you have been cultivating the characteristic of trust. You are trusting that you don't want anything that you have to protect. You want to be totally free. You want to be completely free of what binds people into this third dimensional reality of stuff as being meaning that it makes me worth more because I got stuff. Those days are coming to an end quickly, very, very quickly. So, sentence number 7. And what is there that offers less, yet could be wanted more? Who, with the love of God upholding him, could find the choice of miracles or murder hard to make? I'll read it in different ways. Who, with the love of God upholding him, who, aligned with God, could find the choice between 3D and 5D hard to make? Who, aligned with God, can find the choice between safety and fear hard and freedom hard to make? Who, aligned with God, can make the choice between, you know, conditioning into giving up who you really are and accepting who you are, freeing yourself, doing the work that liberates your soul hard to make? Who that has felt the love of God in their heart find it hard to make a choice between sharing or hoarding? It is the most amazing time to be alive. For those of us who are waking up, who have that aspect of ourselves that's waking up, that is ready to dive in and look at our wounded selves and look at our holy selves and decide, okay, let me do the work of healing. Let me feel that. Let me release that pain. Let me empty myself of this. Let me be grateful for the experience because it's helped me become who I am. It's helped me learn all of the power that I have. And then recognize, but now I let my inner child free because there's no fears to be free. There's no fears to be who you are. When that part of you that is awakening, that wants freedom above anything else, takes over because you let it, all that is left is nothing but, as A Course in Miracles calls it, a happy dream, a joyful experience. Everything becomes holy, everything becomes lovely, everything becomes fun and easy. That is what is awaiting us, but not until you're ready to claim it. You have to want it. So I'm just going to say, for anybody who's still afraid, who's still in fear of walking out and leaving everything behind, you're not asked to do that. You're simply asked to change your mind about it. That's all. Change your mind about things. That's the miracle, a shift in perception. You'll be guided every step of the way. We are not alone. Ooh. And if you want to be part of a community, join the Awareness Academy. Love to have you there. Still trying to build that community, still trying to get the good feels happening inside of our conversation area, our chat group, but it's still new. It's still new. It's going to happen. It's happening little by little. It's taking off, and would love to have anybody who wants to be part of that. All right. Does anybody have anything you guys want to share before we close this up? Some of you I'll get to see later. No. My love to each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. And if you want to watch past episodes, they're all on my YouTube channel. Or come join us at the Awareness Academy. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.